Hello, darling friend. I have a story for you. Come with me now to meet the stonecutter in his cottage at the bottom of the valley. The old man has lived in this cottage all his life. He learnt his trade on his grandfather's knee and in his father's workshop. And here he is at the end of his life. He has done the most remarkable work, and now he is known as a master stonecutter. He's worked with granite and marble and limestone and sandstone, all of the different textures and stones and rocks you can imagine. And people come from miles around to ask him to create monuments, ornate and intricate pieces of design, and to help with their construction of their buildings. He has a large family, and all of them love him very, very much. He's a father, a grandfather, and a great-grandfather. And one particular granddaughter comes to visit him every single week. She loves him, and she loves the wisdom that he shares with her. He is a man of few words, but he passes on his wisdom through his actions and through some of his quiet words. Now, on this particular day, his young, ambitious and driving granddaughter is really feeling worried and anxious because everywhere she turns, doors seem to be closing on her. Everywhere she pushes and tries, she doesn't seem to get through. Every project that she does seems to be pipped at the post by something else. And she just thinks that nothing will ever come good for her. She trudges down the valley and crosses the little bridge and knocks on his door. Of course it's open. She always knocks and then enters. And today he's sitting by the fire. It's unusual because actually he's normally active and working. What she doesn't know is that it is just a few days before his death. His steely blue twinkly eyes meet hers, and he asks immediately, "What ails you, granddaughter?" She doesn't want to bother him with her trivial problems. She can see that this may be one of the last times that she's able to visit him. But in his very clever way, he wheedles out what he wants to hear, and she shares with him. She shares her worries, her anxieties, her troubles. "Ah," he says, come sit." And they sit by the fire. "It's very similar to my work," he says. And she looks puzzled. She works in social media and marketing and it doesn't seem at all like being a stonecutter. "Well, it is," said Grandfather. And he picks up a rock that's just on the table by the side of his chair, by the fire. "You see this," he says, and he picks up a little hammer and he taps at it. "What I really need to be able to create and craft with this piece of rock is patience. You see, one blow of this hammer won't make any difference. 2 blows, 3, 4, 5, there's nothing to see for it. And I need this patience, and then I need persistence." Do you know, Grandfather was talking more than she'd ever heard him. He was so loquacious that day. "And after this," he said, as he continued to tap that little rock, "what you need then is practice. Practice. And the blows to the rock got a bit stronger and harder in his hand. "You see, if you continue like this," he said, "and you enjoy the pleasure of it, sooner or later, maybe later than sooner, you will see a little crack appear. And after a while, the crack will get bigger and it will begin to divide the rock. And then you will have the rock in 2 places and you'll be able to continue to mould and model it. It takes patience, perseverance. Practice, 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 he said, almost wearily. And then, with a twinkle in his eye again, pleasure. Remember these 6 P's, my darling granddaughter, and you won't go far wrong. That day was indeed the last day that she saw her grandfather alive. But the family kept his little cottage down in the bottom of the valley. You had to cross over the bridge, and there it was. And every week she continued to visit, and she would go in, light the fire, and sit by it, opposite where her grandfather had been, and she picked up that rock and the hammer and just tapped, tapped, tapped at it as she contemplated and thought. She knew that with patience and persistence, practice, 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 she would be able to do and be and achieve everything that she wanted. And with that, a smile came across her face, and she had great pleasure, remembering her grandfather, his wisdom, and his steely blue, twinkly eyes. And so he lives on. He lives on in her heart and in those rocks.